Does Sayl the Faithless believe in himself in Tides of Torment? Well, that's what he has to rely on, doesn't he? This video concerns Sayl as a fighter, a general, and a faction leader, and deep campaign mechanics will wait for another day because there's no way I can fit it in one video that can be delivered in a reasonable time frame. So let's keep the faith and soldier on. Arriving at a very standard 250 upkeep on foot, 4,030 health on ultra unit scale, armor 30, missile resistance 15% as standard. Leadership 75 is just fine, speed 33, charge speed 40 are fine. Melee attack starts at only 43, but each blow is magical attack, so it'll punch through physical resistance. Attack interval is the standard 4 seconds. Splash against size medium means mounted yeoman on down, and max target damage by splash is 4. Melee defense begins at 36, weapon strength 300, and AT is split base to 170, and armor piercing 110, charge bonus 15, mass 1000. Sayl begins with 3 uses of bound spell Nightmare, 45-second cooldown only, a wind spell with a short cast range, 50 meters, and does 50 damage, 60% of which is armor piercing. That's absolutely not bad damage against infantry. No wonder they brought in Sorcerer Lords, right? Because Sayl is one. Note that nonetheless he uses the rage mechanic if in melee, but how much do you really want him in melee, On a war horse, upkeep rises to 300, health to 4,398, as is traditional, very little else changed except speed 90, charge speed 110, and that's pretty fast. Charge bonus is 35, and mass is 1300. On a Marauder Chariot, this is going to be interesting. Upkeep shoots up to 400, health to 4,730, armor is now 90, speed 78, and charge speed 108. Melee attack remains 43 and remains magical attack on a freaking chariot. Attack interval 4, splash target size very large, so anything but single characters will probably get splashed, with rare exception, and max target splashed 3, but that's in pitched combat. Ignore that figure for collision attacks during a proper charge. It's not like melee defense 28 is much worse than we started with. Weapon strength 340 is a lot less than Wulfric, but it's split base 120 and armor piercing 220, and anything with over 200%, with over 200 armor piercing, functioning as a chariot, is doing the Chaos God's work. Bonus versus infantry is 26, which is pretty good, and my eyes did not deceive me this time. This bonus is 26 where Wulfric's was 20. Charge bonus is 50, as in 50 only, on a chariot, and mass is 1500. His final mount is a War Mammoth with a War Shrine attached. Note that prior to this he was not a siege attacker, he is now. For 550 upkeep, his mount brings 13,774 hit points of Fur, Blubber, Bluster, and Rage. Armor is 80, missile resistance 15% still, leadership 75 still, speed 56, charge speed 84, we expect this. Melee attack begins at 34 and, unlike the chariot, is no longer magical attack, but attack interval 3.5 seconds remains very active. Splash target size large means up to trolls will dilute damage, max targets damaged in pitched combat is 5. Melee defense 30 is normal enough, and his is bad in all forms. Weapon strength 525 is split base 155 and armor piercing 370 with the mammoth sized bonus versus infantry of 34. Charge bonus is 68 and mass is 6500. Favor of the Ruinous Powers provides plus 10 leadership in a 55 meter radius from the War Shrine, and Giver of Glory can add up to plus 10% physical resistance within a 35 meter radius. This wouldn't seem like a big deal if the faction wasn't already able to stack a lot of this, and if you're concerned about magical attacks, the Cursed Etten Runecaller is a solution, so long as your foe is within 55 meters of the Runecaller. Giver of Glory is fed by dead entities around it. The gods care not from whom the blood flows. So, in his final evolution, Sayl becomes for Norsca what Tahenwen becomes for the Lizardman, kinda sorta. It's a big furry mount instead of a big scaly mount, but the idea is very similar. As a faction leader, Rule of the Faithless gives plus 2 to unit capacity for Chaos Warriors and Chaos Spawn. Allows manipulations in campaign, has the hidden plus 24 recruit rank to maxed out alter chaos characters, plus 2 to recruit rank for more mundane shaman sorcerer heroes. The lords are the great blah blahs. Wins capacity to plus 10 for all armies, weapon strength plus 20% for Kurgan horsemen for all armies. As a general, he apparently starts with the enfeebling foe and wind blast for himself. Dark Sorcerer gives him spell intensity plus 10%, gives him the Nightmare Bound spell in campaign, has miscast chance minus 25% for himself, and imbues poison for Kurgan horsemen in his own army. A little extra on top, apparently. Sayl has the same blue line as Wulfric, as opposed to a standard chieftain, and the same red line pick of standard die or fighter die that chieftains and Wulfric have, with one exception. The midway pip in the blue line, Wielders of the Mists, gives female noble capacity plus 1 and recruit rank plus 5 for the nobles. Nice, they're strong, and he needs a bruiser or two in the house. There are some top-line similarities with others, and then big disparities. Leader of the Dolgan at rank 8 provides Kurgan horsemen with 15% physical resistance and perfect vigor. Good on everyone, but cavalry benefit especially heavily from it. At rank 10, Ardent Abominations gives melee defense plus 15 to cursed edit units and plus 15 flat charge bonus for the same. I expected this, and the buffs go really well with them. Dreadful Master, also at rank 10, gives him plus 4 Chaos Corruption and gives his army immunity to psychology because they're more afraid of Sayl than the enemy. Voice of the Dark Gods at rank 13 is what Wulfric got, increasing leadership effect or size, and cooldown to standard die or fighter die, whichever the case may be. For his main magic line, Sayl can take up to 2 pips in the enfeebling foe, outstripping what the Runecallers can do by a lot for this. He can select the Roiling Skies passive for inconveniencing flying enemies. He can also choose the Smoke and Mirrors passive from Shadow, that provides a fairly robust plus 10% speed, charge speed, and turn speed buff after casting a spell to his own army. And that's for 25 whole seconds, which I'm pretty sure was improved sometime recently. His selection for this section goes from Wind Blast through the Penumbral Pendulum and Urnon's Thunderbolt, a decent mix of Shadow and Heavens. Evasion is the midway pip. The advanced spells are Chain Lightning on the one hand, a very decent general purpose vortex spell, and the other is Occam's Mind Razor, which is area effect when overcast, delivering ridiculous melee damage boosting in a heavy melee damage faction. Earthing and magical reserves are standard, the former making his miscast chance reduction even better, and he gets normal arcane conduit as the capstone. Sayl's personal line begins at rank 12 with Backstabbing Sorcery. This reduces wins available to enemy forces in local province by 10, inflicts spell intensity minus 20% for the same, and like I said for Runecallers, I don't think it goes below 100%, but it'll definitely make boosted spellcasters come back down to earth somewhat. The passive ability means in battle, any enemy casting a spell will take 8 points of direct damage per second for 18 seconds, so that's 144 per full proc. Hey, it helps. Imbued Durability gives Sayl 10% ward save and old school regeneration, much like the Femir Nobles had, so 20% fire weakness, but hey, the ward save means he's not even easy to burn down. Overall, a boon. Fused with Dark Magic enables magical attack for the entire army, and in this version of Total War Warhammer, there is zero downside to this. Uses of Nightmare gets plus 1, weapon strength plus 10% for Lord's Army, and plus 20% spell resistance for Lord's Army, which applies to Sayl too. Empower and Exploit raises Shaman Sorcerer Heroes recruit rank plus 2 faction-wide, raises wins for all armies plus 10 faction-wide, and gives minimum wins plus 10 faction-wide, raising the minimum from 20 to 30. Kotep does this too. These essentially double down on his faction benefits, but are Confederation safe. Motivation through Fear brings upkeep minus 10%, campaign movement range plus 10%, and leadership plus 8 for his own army. The capstone, Twisted Seer of the Wastes, adds spell intensity plus 20% for himself, wins cost minus 2 for all Shadow and Heaven spells, cooldown minus 20% for Nightmare Bound spells, and plus 2 uses for them. Now, while this is not a deep dive into text or anything, when playing Wulfric, I noticed that I suddenly qualified for Collapse of Grand Cathay in the tech tree, and all I'd done was wipe out Yuan Bo and take down his faction. So those sorts of texts are win 10 battles against such and such, or take a prominent capital. That tech gives mastery of the elemental winds to all spellcasters, so Sayl plus Shaman Sorcerer heroes will raise spell intensity by plus 15% for each spellcaster. This leaves legendary items. The Viper's Staff, available from rank 8, gives winds increase plus 5 per turn or own army, upkeep minus 5%, increases income from raiding plus 15%, leadership plus 10 for Kurgan horsemen, and gives the passive, the Viper's Staff, activated by casting, and for 12 seconds, Sayl gets poisonous for melee strikes, gets plus 20% ward save, and gets 20 points of damage reflection, a non-trivial amount which starts really helping. Schalkain's Teeth is in Total War Planner, and the item is pickable in multiplayer, but its quest is not properly implemented in campaign at time of writing. I will act as if it's going to get fixed. Gives research rate plus 10, chance of wins increasing in strength in a province when it changes plus 25%, miscast base chance minus 30%, and gives us the active ability of the same name, 2 projectiles, 200 yards, 500 damage each. 2 uses, 90 seconds cooldown. Those are weirdly even numbers, but we'll take it. So how do we use Sayl the Faithless? Unsurprisingly, he's deeply committed to spellcasting and his thematic army stuff. There's zero wrong with this. But basically, everything comes together on the Chariot for the more mobile version, and on the Mammoth for the ridiculous version, with regeneration on a bloody Mammoth. Moreover, the rune card dampening magical attack around it is a great match. Sayl buffs them further, and it just becomes a positive feedback loop of awesomeness. Plus, he's simply unique in his faction for the Lore of Heavens content. Summon the wind, bring down the thunder. While most of what he's about in campaign is his campaign mechanics, leading a posse of other spellcasters and making them and him all that much more powerful means you can mix and match, using Spirit Leech on top on what he can use with his own spells, but frankly, the first option is one of the most impactful in the longer term. Weakening a foe to make it easier for a melee beatstick to crush it, starting with the Famir Noble and working your way forward. Occam's Mindrazor just makes it even better. There are a few flavors to work with, but the new horsemen give his army speed and hitting power, and it's not like he can't use more traditional means too. Take him and wreck stuff. He's a bit more finicky at first, sure, but he becomes almost as tough and basically zero base stat loss reduction compared to melee lords later on, like with the War Shrine, and the right buffs, and he can be his own melee beatstick just fine. Take care, and have fun stomping all over the Dark God's turf and living to tell the tale. For a time, they play the long game.